Thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Scott, you want to take it away with some opening comments?
Sure. Welcome. Thank you for coming out to the press conference today. It's been a whirlwind weekend for us, but we're excited to be here announcing. Well, we announced the fight last week. We also have something to announce as far as the opponents for MVP, and that Bobby Lashley will be added to the card today. When I came into Bellator in 2014, the first person I looked up actually was Paul Daley. And I said, we got to get Paul busy. He was already on the roster, but he wasn't fighting much for Bellator at the time. So we reached out and we said, Paul, we really need you to come on board and really be one of our staples of this company, because you put on some exciting fights, and I've always enjoyed the relationship with Paul. And then with Rory, when free agency started opening up, I said, we got to go after Rory, and I'm so happy we were able to obtain him. And then once we were able to obtain him, we said the first person he should fight is Paul Daley. So I'm glad we could put this fight together. I'm glad we could do this here in the UK for the fans here. I think it's going to be a spectacular event. The other fight we're putting together is MVP, who's not here today. I'm sure you guys know he has a flu, but he'll be fighting Derek Anderson to my left from San Diego, California. Record 15-3, great record. He's beat Mitrione, Pitbull, beat some of the big fighters in Bellator. And then lastly, we have Bobby Lashley over here, who will be fighting, and his opponent to be named soon. But we thought we'd bring Bobby out here to meet you guys and bring everybody out here so you guys could ask a few questions. So this time, I just open up to Paul Daley.
Yeah, Paul.
Hello. I've got a bit of a cough, so just bear with me when you're asking the question of that. Not too much to say. It's a great fight. I called for the fight after my last victory, so I'm happy that Rory accepted the fight and Bellator could make the fight. Just look forward to getting it on May 19th.
Rory, some opening comments?
Hey guys, thanks for coming. I'm very excited for this fight. Couldn't be a better opportunity for my first fight in Bellator. Paul's known for his exciting fights, and I'm going to meet him in the center, and I'm going to be pushing forward this fight. And like he said, it's going to be a bloody fight. I don't think either of us are going to be backing down in this fight. You can expect a war.
Bobby, you want to give your opening comments about coming to London?
Sure. Had a little time off, but glad to be back. Scott called me and asked me if I can come out here and fight London. I love the UK fans, so kind of excited to get back out here. Hopefully we find an opponent soon so I can start getting the training camp ready. But I'm excited about May 19th.
I'm excited as well. Moving up to 170, possibly permanently this time. Michael Page looks like a good opponent. I'm excited to be the shorter guy for a change. I'm going to give him his first test, and he's going to be he's not going to pass.
At this time, we'll open it up for questions if you want to get started.
Derek, first of all, for yourself, why did you decide now was the right time for you to move up to welterweight? Was it always the plan to do that, or was it just because of the Michael Page fight?
No, they gave me the Michael Page fight, and after the last time trying to move up to 170 and come back down, it was just a little bit tough, and I don't want to going back up right now. I might not make it back down. I probably can, but I don't want to hurt my body anymore, and I'm confident in my skills enough to mess around with the welterweight division a little more now. Wrestling kept me out of the division before, but my game's become nice and well-rounded, and I definitely can strike with welterweights anyway. So,
obviously he's undefeated. So what do you bring to the table that you think can test him, and do you see any holes in his game at all?
I mean, he drops his hands all the time. What do you mean holes? I definitely am kind of a pressure fighter, just instinctually. I like to go forward, and being the taller guy usually in lightweight, I can't do that. So it's going to be nice to be the shorter guy and put the pressure on him, and it'll be a good fight.
Question for Paul. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, Paul, the press conference was dominated with the Michael Page talk. Are you just glad that you can now finally move on and Rory's there, and this whole press conference is all about you guys headlining this card in London?
Yeah, definitely, and as it should be. Once the fight was confirmed, all the talk of MVP should have been over with. For me, this is a much bigger fight internationally. Rory's no joke. He's been ranked in the top 5. In my eyes, one of the best in the world, the very best. So yeah, this is a huge fight for me. It's a huge fight for Bellator.
And a question for Rory. Rory, when Paul first called you out after the Brendan Ward fight, I know you put a GIF out on Twitter, but what was your initial reaction? Was that a fight that was #1 on your list in Bellator?
My reaction was right away that was a great knockout. I think I even posted something before he called me out, like that I thought it was pretty impressive. But that's just my humor. I'm not. I don't get scared when people call me out. Just I think it was a good move by Paul. Get some excitement and get people interested in that fight. So, I was happy that he did it, so we can make this fight happen. At the beginning, when I first signed, I figured I'd fight Lima, but it also comes down to timing. I'm pretty sure he had surgery, so not going for the title. The guy to get to the title will be Paul, so it's the perfect fight.
Question up here.
Yeah, this is to Paul. Paul, you mentioned earlier this is a huge fight for you and for Rory because it's, this is probably the big first crossover with the free agent. How do you see this working out for you? What's your plan for this fight?
As funny as it may sound, I never really have a plan. I have over 50 MMA fights, over 25 kickboxing fights. I've fought every type of opponent, big, small, guys with a range on me, guys with shorter arms than me, wrestlers, jiu-jitsu guys that are willing to stand and trade with me. So my aim for the fight is just to get to being the best version of myself that I can be. Like I say, Rory's a tough guy. He's a true fighter in my eyes. He's well-rounded and he comes to finish fights. And, early on, comparisons were made between him and George St. Pierre, but for me, I think he's got a little bit more of the fighter spirit, and I think you've seen that in the Robbie Lawler fight. That's why I refer to this fight as a blood and guts type of fight, because I truly believe Rory has that in him, and I'll be landing punches on him, so hopefully we're going to see that blood and guts spirit again.
Yeah, exactly. Just speaking as a fan, this was huge. The minute I heard about it, I thought this was great. So Rory, have you got a plan going into this?
I got a lot to redeem coming off 2 losses, and also the fact that this is going to be my debut with a new company. The statement needs to be made, my performance, and I've been working hard on new things. I'm shying away from point fighting a little bit. I want my strengths to shine in this fight. I want to come after Paul and I want to put it on him. I want to put him away early and in an impressive fashion.
Perfect. I'd like to echo what Paul said as well. When the comparisons with GSP, I've always thought, GSP skill-wise, but for balls, totally different ball game. So that's going to be great.
Question for Scott. We've had a couple of unfortunate main event withdrawals. We've got the event coming up in Ireland, and we've just had the Fedor Mitrione fight fell through at the last minute. Given that you've got 2 welterweight fights at the top of this card, is that a conversation you're going to have with all 4 fighters involved in regards to making sure you have a contingency plan in place if the worst were to happen and you were to lose one of the main eventers, that one of the 2 co-main event guys can step up and take that fight, and you've got the agreements in place in advance for that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's something we'll circle back and talk to my guys about. But, the Mitrione fight situation was very unfortunate. And honestly, in the 31 years of me being in the fight business, that's the first time I've lost a fighter as a main event the day of. Literally hours before the fight happens, And believe me, our company tried our best, but there's a health and safety issue that, we should never cross as promoters. And it got to that point where I said, this is not safe. Let's just pull the plug. And that's what we did. So, it's like I said, it's unfortunate. It's never happened before. Usually fights drop out. It happens to everybody. This is a fight game. People get hurt, and so. But that's usually weeks in advance, or day. Usually you have some days in advance, and we just didn't have any time to make something else happen for for the fights last weekend. But I can assure you that we're working on a date right now. We'll have something to announce. I want to say by the maybe the end of this week, as far as when Fedor will fight, and it's going to be exciting. And I'm looking forward to bringing him back to fulfill his obligations with Mitrione.
Brilliant. Question for Bobby. I'm sure most people know you sort of juggle two disciplines with the professional wrestling side of your life as well. Talk to us a bit about how you managed to balance that off with the wrestling side and the touring around doing that, as opposed to the perhaps more intense training required for a professional fight.
Right now, professional wrestling, they don't require us to be there too often. Like I'm doing it 1 week every 2 months. So the rest of the time I'm just at home training and doing what I need to do. I don't do too many side bookings or anything like that. I don't do any of that. So I'm just working with TNO exclusively. So we do 1 week every 2 months. So it's easy this time.
Perfect. And last one from me for Rory. You're talking about changing up your game, perhaps being a little bit more direct in your approach. Can you give us a bit more detail on that and something specific that we can look out for from you on fight night against Paul Daley?
Yeah, I think you can expect, a busy guy. I'm going to be in your face the whole time. Every time you take a step to the side, I'm going to be right there. After I hit you and you back up and you want to breathe there, I'm going to be right there in your face. When you want to try to come at me, I'm going to put you to the ground and I'm going to beat you up there too. I think I know my strengths now, and I'm just going to apply them from now on. I'm just going to drown people in my pressure and my attacks.
Rory, you said previously that you thought your first fight might be against Lima. Was that ever put forward to you, and did you think that would be your first fight?
I kept asking every week, to put that fight together, but it didn't happen. A lot comes down to timing. I understand, these guys need a break after a fight, and he got hurt, so I understand.
Do you feel like this works out better for you? Obviously, being off for nearly a year, is this a better way of getting into that title?
The only thing I could see that it's a good thing is it's my first fight in Bellator, and people see me working up the ladder, they're gonna see me fighting a #1 contender for that title shot, so I think people get to see a little bit of build up in the division for me. So yeah.
And you did mention before when you were signed to Bellator that you'd like to compete in multiple weight classes and then obviously title shots as well. Is that still a goal for you?
Yeah, I want to fight middleweight, at some point this year, so I can bounce back and forth. And, I'm not going to shy away from stepping up in any weight class, To go back to your question, if someone were to drop out, say if Paul, got injured last minute, I'll fight anybody on the card. I don't care how big they are. So Bellator doesn't have to worry about getting a replacement fight. Yeah, even that big guy over there.
Thank you.
Question for welcome to London, all of you. Anyway, quick turnaround for you all. Question for Rory, first of all. Rory, how's the nose, first of all, and has the surgery and the repair work and sparring, how's it been with it?
I didn't need surgery. It's actually straighter and breathing's better after Steven broke it in our last fight. I'd broken it a few times previously throughout the year. I just didn't want to stop training. I wish it was in fights. I wish I was breaking them in fights, not in the gym. But it's something I had to learn the hard way. So I've had to be very patient this year since my last fight. So it's been pretty slow with that stuff. So I can't wait to get my hands on somebody. And nose is feeling very good. It's been tested a little bit lately and throughout the year, here and there, and I'm very confident with it that it's 100%.
Without trying to cause too much grief between you up there, Paul, presumably it's the neural processes for a fighter do go on like they do for anyone else. Are you targeting that nose?
No, I'm just going to go out there and fight. Me, Gareth, I'm just a fighter. born and bred. It doesn't matter too much about tactics for me. Once we're in the cage, it's just another man that I have to get through to continue on my journey in this sport.
Question for Derek. Disappointing for you that Michael Page isn't here today, and he's an aggressive talker as well as fighter at press conferences. Are you disappointed that he's not here today?
Yeah, a little, just because get the face off and stuff like that. It would be nice. I'm not really worried about it either way. We're gonna fight May 19th. So that's what it is. Plus, if you started talking crap to me, I'm not a big crap talker. Back in the day with street fights and stuff, it was just once we don't like each other, I'm just gonna start swearing at you until we start fighting. So it's fine if he doesn't want to start crap talking right now. This is wait for the cage.
Maybe a good job he's not here today then. But can you tell us a little bit about your gangster gold tooth going on there as well?
Got knocked out the last fight, so I said, let's put a gold one in, I think it suits my personality pretty well, and, I always get a lot of, I don't intend to be a pretty boy, but people, I kind of come off as a pretty boy sometimes, so the gold tooth kind of fixes that, I'm definitely a fighter.
Excuse me, sorry. And a final one for Scott, and kind of related to Bobby as well. Bobby's a huge star. Obviously, he's a big man, one of the big men, as I said. Rory said he'll step up to heavyweight and fight him if Paul's injured, which we're all looking forward to now if that happens. But presumably you might be looking to match Bobby against, say, a British fighter, James Thompson, or is there a British heavyweight in the mix for that contest?
Yeah, you know what? I know that Rich is talking to a few camps right now, and talking to David Green and some of the other guys around here. So we'll have something soon. And if Ollie would have looked a little, maybe a little better on the fight over the weekend, he could have been a great opponent. But I think we're going to move on to somebody else, and we'll have something soon.
And a final thing for you, Scott. I don't know if you've had a chance, just a bit of housekeeping, whether you've had a chance to speak to Josh Koscheck since the weekend. Obviously, he lost again and suffered a fairly nasty knockout. Has he spoken to you about his future at all?
No, we haven't spoken about his future. I did talk to his manager, and I said we should have a talk when I get back. But I just want to see where his head's at. Sometimes I'm not sure what he wants to do, because he's got a great future. The guy has a thriving business. He really is doing quite well, and he's with Oak Grove Technologies, which is in the military consulting business, let's call it. But he's moved out to North Carolina, has a new future there, and he's getting some big government contracts from what I hear. So to me, that's something he loves to do. But there is a time and place to have that conversation at some point.
Thank you very much.
Scott, with regards to Fedor and Matt Mitrione, is the idea to bring that fight back to San Jose?
Well, the idea, is to bring that fight back somewhere as soon as we can, because the issue really is the building availability. That's probably one of the most booked venues, in the country. They have over 300 bookings a year, and that with concerts and hockey and playoff, all kinds of stuff. So, we're trying to figure it out, and they're trying to clear some stuff. But I would love to bring that fight back to San Jose. Fedor told me that look, I can't fight in March, because we asked him, would you fight in March in Chicago? And he said he can't do it. He said he'd rather fight in May or June, and so we're trying to make that happen in June.
And a few weeks ago, you said that the idea this year is to go into about 7 to 9 international markets. You've got arguably one of the biggest Canadian stars to your left. Will you enter the Canadian market this year with Rory MacDonald?
Yeah, that is the plan, And so when we signed Rory, we knew that Canada was something we wanted to do. So I think before the end of 2017, we'll be up there and promoting him in some fights up there, at least one fight up there.
And Rory, I wanted to speak to you about Michael Page. I know from speaking to him last year, he was in talks, I don't know if it was with yourself personally or for us, to perhaps come out and train with you guys at TriStar. Is that almost a blessing in disguise that he didn't come out now, the fact that you guys are both on the same promotion and fighting the same weight class?
Yeah, we were just looking for training partners going to the Thompson fight, but it doesn't matter to me. I've trained with lots of guys that I ended up fighting. It's just training. It's not a big deal.
Question for Paul. Paul, it was interesting to see you and Rory actually meet for the first time in the lobby, especially as you were kind of, in a way, sizing each other up. You said in the past, Paul, that he has a certain demeanour about him. What did you see in his eyes? 'Cause I saw there was a moment there, unless I'm reading too much into it, there was a moment there where...
Okay, Mike. Last press conference, he was asking me about, do I like dressing up as a woman? This press conference, you're asking me whether there was a moment between me and Rory when I looked into his eyes.
That's not what I meant.
I don't know what you're getting at. That's it.
Basically, you've spoken about, he's got a certain demeanour about himself. Now, what did you see when you actually, looked into his eyes today?
Not much. It was just great to meet him, I am a true fan of the sport as well as actually being a fighter. So I've never met Rory. I've seen him fight a lot. And like I said, I've been a big fan of his fighting style and what he does in the cage. So it was just a bit of a fanboy moment, really, if anything, just to finally meet the guy before fighting him on May 19th.
And the same question to you, Rory. I mean, again, it wasn't as though any man was backing down in that handshake. It was kind of firm. What exactly did you see when you locked horns?
You got a way of wording things. Just showing respect to my opponents. Paul's a real fighter, and just showing respect. That's all it is.
Again, finally, Scott, the undercard. I take it you've been speaking to the renowned promoter, David Green. How is that? How are negotiations actually taking place at the moment? Are there any bodies or people that you've got your eye on in terms of filling the undercard?
Yeah, we talked about that. David and I talked about that last night, and we're going to work with David to provide the undercard for us for this fight. So as far as names, we don't have anything solid yet, but we'll have something soon to announce.
Any further questions?
Question for Rory. You briefly touched on wanting to move up to middleweight. How long have you had that thought in your head?
For a while. I can't put back when I start thinking about it, but I'm not too big on cutting weight all the time. As busy as I want to be a busy fighter this year. So the only way I'm going to be able to stay that busy, every 3 months or so is to take fights at a higher weight class. So I don't have to keep making 170 every 3 months. So hopefully we can fill in the gaps with some middleweight fights or whatever like that.
Okay, and what fights in the division interest you?
The biggest ones, toughest guys.
So Vandalay Silva, I'm pretty sure, gets reinstated. I think in May, if that's correct.
Let's
Is that
do
fight
it. That's perfect.
Okay, and question for Scott. Obviously, you're back in the UK in the second time in less than a year. How happy are you to be back here?
Yeah, I think excited. I mean, I think that it's a great city, and it's going to be a lot of fun to promote this fight. I mean, we got a fight that I personally can't wait to just sit down and watch it as a fan. And if you look at the ownership group on the business side, this is a product that's owned by Viacom, and Channel 5 is owned by Viacom, Spike UK is owned by Viacom. It just makes so much sense. There's so much synergy here between the network broadcaster, the product, the fighters, myself. We're all, one company. So to me, you'll see a lot more events here in the UK. And it's a company mandate from the top down. And I mean from the very top, not just from the Spike TV level, but from the very top of Viacom. They want to make the UK someplace that Bellator comes and promotes quite often. So we'll be here, 3-4 times a year, I think, this year and next year and, and beyond.
Okay, and obviously, unfortunately, we lost the main event at the weekend. Have you spoken to Matt Mitrione about rebooking him?
You know what? I literally jumped on the plane the day after and got here last night, and I haven't talked to Matt, but I did listen to his podcast on Ariel Hawani's show, the MMA Hour, and I found a lot of information about what happened after, because once the fight was over, my guys were in touch with him, but I kind of just took off and got ready to come here. So he luckily he passed his kidney stone, and he was at the airport in Dallas, from what I hear, when he passed it. And I'm just giving the information that I got. So, but he said, you know, he wants to schedule something and get right back in it. So he wants to fight him before May or June, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. I mean, these fights are already booked and planned way ahead of time. So at the end of the day, I think he's going to have to wait for the Fedor fight. But I think health-wise, he's fine. He's going to go get some more treatment, but he said that's going to take a matter of weeks, and then he'll be good to go.
Okay, and a question for Paul. You were briefly eulogizing, or not eulogizing, praising Rory there, saying that he's one of the best welterweights. Do you think a victory over him would cement your status as one of the best welterweights?
Most definitely. I do hold him in high regard, and that is also one of the reasons that I called him out. I like to test myself, and I think this is a big test for me. But, you know, I've been in these tests before and I've passed them. I'm expecting a tough fight, but I'm also expecting to win, and win by knockout.
Okay, obviously Rory lost his last fight. Do you think he's going to be coming out a bit more guns blazing and because of that? Or?
For me, watching that last fight, I get the feeling, I think I said this last time, that Rory had like his mind wasn't there. Like being a fan and watching the sport in my opinion, it was like his mind was elsewhere. It wasn't the Rory that I'd watched and seen before. Now, this is not, I don't know personally, this is just purely as a fan. I feel like he already had his mind somewhere else. Like he wasn't 100% in this fight. So I take nothing from his last fight. I take nothing from his last fight. Rory's a tough guy, one of the best in the world, and this is definitely one of my biggest tests.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this fight won't look anything like that fight. You know, I have a lot to prove. You know, that fight is probably the most embarrassing fight of my career. You know, so I want to make a statement with this fight. I won't be looking anything like that. I won't be picking shots from the outside, circling. You know, you'll be seeing the old Rory back.
Derek, MVP is a very big name, especially over here. He's very active on social media, as Paul found out recently. Are you anticipating him being very active in the preparation for this fight? And are you going to get a lot more attention than you normally would? Would that affect your preparation at all?
No, every little bit of the game that comes at me, just brings me closer to the game and keeps my mind on nothing but the fight. So it could be a good thing, And I've always kind of wanted an opponent to I've always wanted to not like an opponent, So hopefully he talks some crap or something like that because I have too much fun in the cage a lot of the time. I like to fight, so you see me in there smiling and joking around, but I could go be taking it to somebody a lot more than I am. So it'd be maybe it'd be good if he gets under my skin a little bit,
And Scott, what does it mean for yourself as a promoter and for Bellator as an organisation to have people like MVP, who's a big name, fighting experienced fighters like Derek, and having two fighters in their prime in the welterweight division, as Paul and Rory are? What does that mean for the organisation?
I mean, MVP is a big star, and he's a tremendous athlete, and he's somebody that I really enjoy watching. Coming from a traditional martial arts background, he does a lot of stuff that people just cannot do. And like you said, he's in his prime. Derek's in his prime. And these two warriors are going to go out there and they're going to throw it down. I mean, Derek's not afraid of MVP. I can tell you that right now. And he's MVP. I mean, the guy's got a lot of swagger, a lot of confidence. But I think it's going to be a great fight. I think this is going to be a fight that's going to get down and dirty. I think that the question will be, can Derek cut the ring off and get to him? Because MVP has some good movement. And, it's going to be interesting.
Bring it to him for it, Scott.
Derek, do you have a plan of how you are going to do exactly what Scott just said and cut the ring and put the pressure onto Mike?
Yeah, I like to be the shorter guy in striking matches. I never get to in my fights too much because of the lightweight division, but I do spar with a lot of big guys, and so I'm used to it, and it'll be nice to get in there. I like Paul's style a lot with the head movement, get in there, throw some hooks, so I'll be doing a little bit of that, and I can cut a ring off, I can go forward. It's going to be good.
Thanks, guys.
Scott, at the risk of being barred from all Bellator events going forward with me boringly asking the same question again and again, on May the 19th, are you able to say yet that the British viewers will be able to watch the event live?
It's going to be the same as last year in the sense that 9 o'clock p.m., we will be on Spike UK for 1 hour. And then from 10 to midnight on Friday, May 19th, we'll be on Channel 5. So it'll be another primetime opportunity for Bellator to be on terrestrial television here throughout the territory. And we're excited because, I don't think that there is MMA on terrestrial television right now in the UK. Is it? I'm not sure. I don't think it is. So it's a great way to show our product to mainstream here in London and throughout the territory. But that goes back to the ownership group. I mean, Viacom's committed. This, like I said, this came from the top down. I mean, we could have easily said, hey, let's put it on Spike UK, but somebody from the top pushed and said, no, let's put it on Channel 5. And the guys here from Channel 5 loved it too. So, when we come to London, we do big fights here. It'll always be probably the hybrid of Channel 5 for the first hour. I'm sorry, Spike UK for the first hour, and then Channel 5 for the next 2 hours.
If that resonates with big viewing figures, which I'm sure it will on Channel 5 on the night, as you say, it's the first time that the first time ever we've had MMA on terrestrial TV here, but the only one currently. If the numbers are very big, do you hope that may resonate with future Bellator events? And I know that you can't show overnight shows because they have shopping channel and all those kind of things, but perhaps they might show them on a Sunday evening then in their broadcast, in their programming.
Yeah, I mean, we had a conversation with Spike UK and Channel 5 last time we were here. They actually came to the press conference, and we talked about that, and they heard the outcry from the fans and the reporters that we'd like to get this as live as possible, and they're willing to start having conversations about closing the gap on that. And eventually, this is a live world anyway. You're going to find it somewhere, and so to me, I'm hoping to bridge that gap sooner than later.